Okay. So you can go over this like page later if you want to just review it again. But that's what we're going to use to go over the questions. The data set pretty much includes like most of the things that we did last session. If you recall from last session, we created a column total charges. This was the summation of two MISC charges and also room charges. So adding them up will give us the total charges. Then using the VLOOK function, we looked up like how much of that is covered by the insurance provider. So that column indicates how much is covered by the insurance provider. This column us how much in total is is paid or like paid by the insurer, and then the difference between the like insurance coverage value and also like total charges will give us how much actually was paid by the patient, or should have been paid by the patient. So that's our final table. We created other columns. We created like a follow-up needed column to address the issues with that column. We created this formula, and also replace the missing values with unknown categorization. Okay, so pretty much you're familiar, up to date with the data set we worked on like for about two sessions, last two sessions. So now what we are going to do, we're going to go over the questions and try to create them. So what is the first question? Create a pivot table that shows total admissions by insurance type across all departments. For if you don't like think about this as a pivot table question, think about it as a query in database. What would it look like? We are looking for like a kind of a total query, right? We want to summarize the results for insurance type and also for department. So we say group by insurance type and department and show count total number of like county admissions. Remember from database that if you wanted to count the records in a table, which column did we use? The primary key of that table we would use to count the records in the table, right? So we would use like group by insurance type, count, patient ID. In this case, there isn't we have in the admissions table, each record is like specified with the patient ID. That's why I said patient ID. In Tableau, if you wanted to like visualize this in Tableau, we would drag like insurance type to rows, and then also department rows, and then in columns, we drag like a patient ID and then choose the measurement to count. So you see, like we're doing the similar things that we did before, but this time in Excel and using the pivot table. So in order to create a pivot table, click on the table, go to the Insert tab, and on the left side, you will see the pivot table. Okay, on the left side, you will see the pivot table. Click on pivot tables. Here, two things. You want to make sure that you've covered when you click on pivot table to create one. Make sure that it covers like the complete range of the columns that you're going to use in this like pivot table. It includes the whole range, and also like every time you want to create a pivot table, make sure that you're creating it in a new worksheet. You usually create it in the same like worksheet as the table. Create it in a separate worksheet so you don't mix up like the table with the worksheet with the pivot tables. Okay, so create a new worksheet with the pivot tables. Great. Once you create a pivot table, you will see this on this side 4 boxes, right? We have rows, we have columns, we have values, we have filters. Rows and columns, okay, rows and columns are the ones that you would see where we drag columns that we would use to group the results. Like if it was a total query, you would say group by insurance type. So that would mean that like we want to like drag, okay, we want to use rows to place what is our category. Yes.
Can you show what you did one more time to make the pivot table?
Okay. So go to Insert tab, Pivot Tables from the left. Make sure the range is correct, new worksheet, and just click OK so you can forget it. We are working, actually, let me make sure that let me remove this. I might have made a mistake. We are working on the admissions table. Yes, with the admissions table. Okay, the admissions table. Okay, so we created a pivot table for the admissions table. Make sure that it's admission. Now, so we have rows and columns. These are the ones that we use for when in a query, we want to specify the results for a specific category. And then we have the values section. In the values section, that's where you drag a column that you're going to use for calculation. That's the only reason for it. So if you're using like a numerical column, you want to run sum, you want to use average, you want to use minimum, maximum, these type of calculations, you drag that column into values. If you're counting the records, you're using a primary key or like a key that uniquely identifies a record, you drag it here and select count. So it is pretty much similar to aggregation. Like if you're using a column for aggregation, if it was in Access, here we have values for it, and that's where we place the column. What is filters? That's one we can use to filter the results. If you're specifically showing the results for a specific filter, like a specific year, a specific city, a specific state, that's what you can drag the column and then select that filter. Let's start by examples, and it will become a little bit more clear. So the first question is create a pivot table to show total admissions by insurance type across all departments. In other words, we want to see how many patients are admitted based on each insurance type and also by each department. So for each insurance type, we created an insurance type column. Where do we drag it? Rows indicates the category. Okay, we can drag it to rows, and that's when we see each category. We are summarizing the results. So we want to see, we have categories and then show for each category the the results of a summary. Now, summarized by what? We want to see how many patients are admitted. In order to know how many patients are admitted, we want to see for each category, we want to count the records in that table. If you don't see it, go back. We created the pivot table from the admissions table. Okay, make sure that you created the pivot table from the admissions table. Going back to here. Now, for each insurance type, want to use one of these columns, which we are going to use patient ID the same way that we would use in Tableau, we would use in Access. The key, the one that we have, the unique identifier, we use them and count the records for each group. Here on the right side, you see the sign. If you click on it, okay, if you double click on it, then you can see different measurements here. The measurement that we are using the records count to count the records. Okay, from Access, we remember that the only calculation that we are running on the primary keys of tables is count. Why? Because these are unique identifiers that any calculation other than count doesn't mean anything, because each record for itself has a unique identifier. So these numbers are just random numbers uniquely identify a record in the table. So count. Here, while we are here, we can talk about these two tabs. One is summarized by, it indicates what you're going to indicate what is the aggregation you're using to summarize the results for each category. So you have the category here, then here you want to specify what is the method for summarizing the results for that. We are using count. The other tab, show data as, here we have several other options. That's about how you want to show the results. We'll talk about we can use them to show a percentage instead of numbers. And then you have number section. And if you click, what you can see is that here you can actually specify a specific format. Okay, if you want to format the results for currency, for percentage, you can also go over from the numbers. So from the number section, you can go and change the format. For now, we are looking for each insurance type, number of patients that are admitted, and also across all departments. So we want to see them for each department. We have the department here. Okay. One option is that we drag the department to columns so we can see the results. Okay. We can see the results for each department. So rows and columns here. Rows and columns, that's the one that we're specifying what should be the summary based on. These are categories. And then in values, you drag the column that you use for calculation. Yes. Patient ID. Okay. So now what we are seeing here is that across all departments, based on insurance type, how many patients we are admitted, how many patients we've admitted. Okay. It can give us some insights about for example, here you can see what I see here is that across all departments, the one that has the highest number of admitted patients is orthopedic. Okay, so we have more patients admitted here. Just one thing you want to keep in mind about this data set is that it's a random data set, random data. We've generated randomly, so it may not include when we created these results, the results are very much random, so they may not create important outputs or unique outputs. So that's just something that could happen with the random data. Okay, so we are going to save this as Q1. Q1. All right. In the next question, what we are looking for is creating a pivot table that lists top 5 departments by admission count. Or we want to look for top 5 departments that has highest patients admitted. Okay. Let's go back to the admissions table and create a new pivot table based on the admissions table. Okay, so go to the admissions table, create a new pivot table. What we want to see, we want to see for each department how many patients are admitted based on department. So for each department, okay, for each department, you can see how many patients are admitted. Again, if you're counting, you can use the the key or column that has this a unique number for each record. In this case, patient ID is unique for each record, so we are going to drag it to values. Okay, you're going to drag it to values and change the measurement to count. In this case, it automatically assigns that. If it doesn't, make sure that the measurement is count. Okay, make sure that the measurement is count. We are counting and records for each department. Okay. Two things. First, we can sort the results. In order to sort the results, let's so go to the data tab, click on this column, go to data tab, and from here in the data tab, you have two options. Okay, you can sort the. If I click on sort the results from Z to A, then we can sort the results from highest to lowest. You can see the department with the highest number of admitted patients at the top. We can also filter the results for based on top 10, top 20, top 5. That's when we like use parameters in Tableau. We use parameters to create them. Here, you can click on the for the rows label, right? We are using them to like filter results to top 5 departments. So click on this down arrow. Here you see by values. Okay, by values, can click on this down arrow and then click on top 10. Okay, so click on this down arrow, go to by values, and from here, top 10. Then we can specify we are looking for top 5. All right. So what does it tell us? It tells us top 5 departments with the highest number of admitted patients. And the top departments are orthopedic, 32 admitted patients. And that was what we were looking for in Q2. Yes.
I don't know if it's just me, but like, it kind of looks like there's like ortho and then orthopedic. And like if the data set were like.
That's correct. This is one thing that we didn't apply. We should have like gone to fix that issue with the column. I actually didn't notice it up to like when we were working on it to like see that, okay, there is an issue in that column too. See? Yeah, in the department, actually, let's see. Then we can go to filters and click on the down arrow. Yeah, like probably like we have like cardiology. Okay, I see some issues here. Thank you for noting that out. I didn't notice it initially. Probably there are two issues here. There are some spaces, I think, that we like that create multiple columns or multiple categories, and also different names for the same category. So yeah, okay. All right. I can still keep this for now. Q2. Any question? Yes. Oh, from go to data tab, and from the data tab you will see in just in the section.
Like, wouldn't that sorted like based on the row labels alphabetically?
I know, if you click on this like a column and then click on either of them, it will sort them based on.
Okay.
Yes. The top 5 or okay. So top 5. Okay. I think I did too much. So let me just create this. What we were looking for each department. We wanted to we have, okay. We can sort them, go to data tab and sort them. In order to like show top 5 or top 10, click on this down arrow for row labels, by values, and then click top 10. You might have also, just in case, you might have a Excel version that like selecting is a little bit different. So you want to like work with it to kind of find out what is the version that you have. Sometimes it's a little bit different. I can say that. Okay. Any other question? Okay. Yes. All right. This would be Q2. Right, Q2. Okay. Next question. So we want to create a pivot table to show monthly admissions volume by insurance types, meaning that we want to see for each month, we want to see for each insurance type how for each month for each insurance type. If we go back to the patients table or admissions table, we can notice something, which is we don't have insurance month. So let's create it and then create the pivot table. Let's add that column to the table. So I want to add in admission month. Here, admission month. What's admission month? We can use the text function to extract month from admission date. Text function, let's go and find the admission month, admission date. Okay, so admission date is the F2 column, F column. Admission date, add a comma, and then we are looking for months, so we can add for m's to extract month. All right. Okay, so once we extract it, double click so we can extend it. So we have the admission month. Okay, so we have the admission month. Now we can create the save it, and then we can create the pivot table. So click on pivot tables, make sure that it includes like all the columns are covered. Okay, yes. New worksheet, and then click OK. So for each insurance type, we created the insurance type. Okay, right? So for each insurance type, we want to see how many patients are admitted in each month. So we can drag again patient ID to values. You can see the number of patients. This time, want to see, okay, so we used patient ID here, okay. We use patient ID, drag it to values so we can count the records for each insurance type, Now, we created this column admission month. If we drag it to columns, what we are going to do, we are going to see the admitted like number of patients for each insurance type based on each month. Okay, based on each month. Based on each month. Now, you could have done this in a different way, that you could have like dragged admission month here and then insurance type here. So you see one in column, admission month or admission insurance type in column, and then admission month in rows. I wouldn't suggest to use this one. Okay, don't use it, because then you have like a specifics, and like you can still, you have, if you have two columns, just like place one in columns and one in rows. So that's much better presentation than like creating this kind of hierarchy, right? So you're like, if you're putting all of them in the same row, you're just creating this hierarchy. So for us, one of like, if we have it, just like let's show one in columns and one in rows. All right, so that's it. Created the admission month, and now we can see like the number of admitted patients across months for each insurance type. Okay, so this is our query or question 6, question 3, Q3. Any question? No. Okay. can go back and work on the question 4. So what we want to do, we want to create a pivot table to show admissions, total number of admissions for each insurance type that were admitted in 2024. I can give you like 3 minutes to work on this, then we can work it like together. So again, you don't have admission month. So first you want to create the admission month and then create the pivot table for it. So first think about like extracting year from the admission date and then create the pivot table. Okay, so what we are looking for in this question, creating showing total number of admitted patients for each insurance type in 2024. Can see it from here in this table, we have actually the discharge year, but we don't have the admission year. So first we need to add this column here, admission year. Okay, admission year is equal to and text, selecting the column admission date. Okay, admission date, and then and the comma, and we are looking for here. Okay. Okay. Once we created the admission year, then we can create the pivot table. So what we are looking for, okay, for each insurance type, so we are, again, that's our category. So we are going to drag it to rows. We are looking for total number of patients. Want to like count how many patients are admitted for each insurance type. And also we want to only like filter the results for 2024. So what we are going to do, we are going to drag admission year. Okay, we're going to drag admission year to filters. Okay, drag admission year to filters, and then here from the filters only select 2024. Only select 2024. So drag admission year to filters, and then from here, click on the down arrow here on the filters and select 2024. Now, this time we want to show the results as a percentage, okay? So in order to show it as a percentage, again, there are different ways to do it. One way is to click on the click on this side, okay? On the right side here, you can click on that icon. Okay, so click here. there is a tab summarized by, so it's count. We're counting the records for each insurance type. And now click on the show data as. Okay, go to the show data as tab, and from here, select percentage of grand total. Percentage of grand total. Okay, the percentage of grand total, click OK, and we can see for each year how many patients are admitted for each group. And we can see it as a percentage. Okay. Yes. Sure. Okay. So click on this side here, next to the measurement. We have the like summarized by count, and then show data. So that's the other tab next to summarize by. And then from here, select percentage of grand total. Okay, and then click OK to see the percentage. Good. This is query 4. Question 4. Okay, for query 5, our focus is on the doctors table this time. Want to see for each specialty and shift category, how many doctors we have in each specialty and shift category. Like the query should show like the results for only full-time employees. Okay, only for full-time employees. Actually, like this is kind of like a quick summary of the question. Anytime if you want to like a little bit like go over like the question, you can go down a little bit, and then here you have like the complete version of that question that we are talking about in this section. So I'm going to go back. First, let's go back to the doctors table. That's where we should have the shifts category. Like we did it last session, but it was like at the end of the session. So I thought we can like do the column again and then use it. If you see here, we have 2 columns, a start time and end time. We want to use it to create a new category. We want to count people to evening shift and overnight shift, and then use it in creating this pivot table. So we want to use if, okay, if to check the value of a start time and end time. We are checking if the value of a start time is greater than 7 and value of end time is less than 15, then it should be categorized as day shift. So it's an and condition. There are 2 conditions, and both of them should be met so that it will be assigned as like a day shift. In that case, you want to type and, okay? You want to type and then open the parentheses. Now, here we have the time, but not the hour. We are checking the hour. So we have the times. We're going to use this hour function. If you type hour, okay, it can check out the like a date time or time, and it gives you the hour, and then you can close the parentheses. So you want to check the hour and say if it is greater than 7, if it is greater than 7, and then add a comma. Then again, hour function. This time, if a start time is after 7 and end time close the parentheses, less than 16, okay, 7 through 16. Close the parentheses. This is like inside the and parentheses. Yes.
Would it work better if it was like greater than or equal to, like if they started at 7?
It will work too. Like I tried to select some like the times just by myself. Like if you select it, it's totally fine. Knowing a specific time. Okay. Great. So if that's the case, then meaning add a comma. So what should happen? We are going to categorize it as day shift. Okay, day shift. Add a comma. Oh, sorry, I forgot to add this inside double quotation. Okay, add a comma. Now, otherwise, it's still we need to check one more thing, like if it is overnight or if it is evening. So that means like we still have another if to add here. I want to say if again and okay. This time want to see if it is between 16 and let's say 21. Again, I'm just selecting the times. There is no like you might select a different time. That's okay. So this time again our function a start time, okay, G2 a start time, close the parentheses. So if it is greater than greater or equal to 16, that's when we ended the last one. Oh, greater or equal 16, add a comma, again our this time end time, close the parentheses. Okay, so if the end time is less than 21, the end time is less than 21, close the parentheses, add a comma, and then we will categorize it as evening shift. Okay, evening shift. Add a comma, otherwise it would be over night shift. Add two parentheses to close the parentheses. We have two ifs. We need to add two parentheses at the end. Always make sure to check your and or if you have an or condition or and condition, check like the parentheses if you open them and close them correctly. The same way here, and open the parentheses and then close add the comma and then specify what should happen. So that is your expression. Okay. Click enter. You have the categorization, and that is shift category. The data didn't include after we created it, it realized like the data didn't include anyone like working from and like during that period. So the reason that I use like a random data set is that, okay, you have two options. If I want to use a data set from a specific book, I need to ask you to like purchase it. So maybe it's good to have like a random data set so we don't have to worry about that part. Okay. A lot of times there are publicly available data sets, but those data sets require a lot of cleaning and like preparation. So the random data sets also have their issues. So sometimes like everything is very similar. Okay. Thank you. So we have the shift category. Now we can create that pivot table. save it, and then we can go to insert and create the pivot table. Okay. So what we are looking for, want to see based on a specialty and shift category, how many doctors we have. Okay. So let's start from the specialty. We can drag it to rows, right? We can drag it to rows. These are our categories. If you notice, like that's what we have for categories, like categorical columns. Those are the ones that we use, like categorize, summarize the data. For each category or a specialty, we have how many patients. We will use the doctor's ID here and drag it to values to count, right? Count how many doctors we have in each specialty. Then we can drag shift categories so we can like see in columns, okay? We can see like uniquely based on shift, overnight shift and day shift. Okay. We want to filter the results only for full-time employees. So from here, we have the employee type. I'm going to drag it to filters. Type, drag it to filters, and then select full-time employees. Okay, drag full-time employees. So what I did, dragging employee type to filters, and then from here, click on the down arrow and select full-time. Okay. Again, what does it tell us? We wouldn't notice it if we didn't create that shift, right? Shift category. Probably wouldn't have noticed that. If I sort it, what we notice here is that like most of the like the overnight, basically overnight, right? We have two night in this category and this category. Most of them are full time. Okay, most of them are full time. If I compare them, unselect them, and then change them to part time, then I can see that actually the part time people usually work in the day. Okay. So it's about like creating this column to like can understand what is inside data, and like we wouldn't probably just like right away notice that if we didn't create this new column. So here now I can notice that based on at least in this data set, the full-time employees are overnight shift. Interesting. Okay, this is query 5 or question 5. Question 5. Let's go back to the admission table. This time we want to like, given the time we have, we want to work on the on this question 8. So jumping a little bit to the other question 8. Want to see how much money, okay? Want to see like each like insurance providers how much money they've spent in total for the admissions. So again, comes from the columns that we created. It allows us to create that insight. So what we have here, okay, we have insurance coverage value. This is for every record, for every admission, we know how much money the insurer has like had to pay for that admission, right? This is what we did. We had the total charge, we had coverage percentage, and then that calculation gave us how much like the insurance was covering. Now we can create a pivot table here. Okay, create a pivot table and see actually in total how much money they've paid, and if we can find something interesting there. So for each insurance provider, I'm going to use this time the provider's name. So drag the provider's name into rows. Okay, I want to see each provider in total how much they've covered. we calculated this using insurance coverage value. We can drag insurance coverage value. It's a numeric field. We can drag it, and we want to see total money total money that they're going to spend or they've covered. So we use the sum to add up all the money that they've covered for each provider. Now, click on the number. Okay. So again, click on this sign here. Okay. Double click. Click on the number and change the format to currency. Okay, change the format to currency with 2 decimals. Okay. So we can see total money that they paid based on each provider. Can sort them from the data tab and sort them. Okay, can see that Blue Cross paid the least amount of money. Now let's see, actually we're gonna see something interesting. If we can drag admission year, okay, we can drag admission year to columns, so we can see this based on year over year. Yeah, year over year. For each insurance provider, you can see how much money they cover. And now, again, it's about creating this summary so you can find something in this data set. What we can see here is this one is a little bit interesting. If it was a real data, you see that from 24 to 25, there is a 50% drop in coverage from that insurer, right? So that's about summarizing your results to be able to gain some insight and can interpret that depending on what is the goal of that chart or that presentation. So that would be a good chart to show. This would be something that you can create it in Tableau using the what was it that we created? Line charts next to each other, so you can show them for each year. Okay, that's it for today. We're gonna save this as Q8. That was Q8. Okay. So make sure to save it, upload it, and then you can also take the attendance. And that's about it.